It began like any other bright morning on Live with Kelly and Mark. The usual upbeat music played, the audience clapped with a kind of synchronized caffeine-induced joy, and Kelly Ripa bounded onto the set in a sunflower yellow dress that declared, "We are awake whether we like it or not." Mark Consuelos followed closely behind, his smile slightly too wide, the kind that says, "I know we're going to talk about something weird today, and I'm not ready." Little did they know, the weirdness was already waiting. ACT1, the number appears. Somewhere around the host chat segment, between a discussion of pumpkin spice toothpaste and an awkward transition into celebrity birthdays, Kelly pulled out a card. "Well, this is interesting," she said, squinting. "It says here, the average person wakes up between 6 to 7. She paused. Mark blinked. 6 to 7 what? He asked cautiously. Hours of sleep, alarms, coffee refills, bathroom breaks. "No, I think it just says, between 6 and 7, Kelly replied, rereading the card as though it might explain itself the second time around. "Like time, 6 and 7 o'clock. A long silence followed, the kind of silence usually reserved for philosophical debates or IRS audits. "Wait," Mark said, brow furrowing. "Does that mean between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m.? Or like, between the ages of 6 and 7? Kelly turned the card toward the camera. "It just says, 6 to 7. That's it. No units, no context, nothing." The audience laughed. The laughter slowly turned into confusion. One woman in the third row began questioning her entire education. ACT2, descent into madness. Mark leaned forward, elbows on the table, suddenly very serious. "Okay, let's break this down. If I say, I'll see you between 6 and 7, you assume I mean a time, right? Unless it's blackjack," Kelly added. "Then it could be your hand." "Right," Mark agreed. "Or dice, like rolling a 6 or 7. But 6 and 7 can't both be lucky numbers, can they?" A producer off camera tried to whisper something helpful. It sounded like, "Just move on," but the hosts were too deep in the numerical rabbit hole. No, we have to figure this out," Kelly insisted. "This is important. What does 6 minus 7 feet mean? Like metaphysically?" Mark turned to the audience. "Clap if you wake up between 6 and 7. About a third clapped. "Clap if you wake up before 6. Another third. "And who here wakes up after 7? The rest clapped, while one man near the back raised both hands and shouted, "I am self-employed." ACT3, expert opinions, sort of. They brought out an expert. Dr. Lenora Frame, a self-proclaimed chrono-neurologist and sleep philosopher, appeared on stage in a lab coat that seemed suspiciously clean. "Well," she began, adjusting her imaginary glasses, 6 minus 7 feet can refer to a number of things. Numerologically, 6 is the number of harmony and family. 7 is the number of introspection. Kelly raised an eyebrow. "So, waking up between 6 and 7 means, I'm a balanced thinker. Or possibly just someone with a 9-to-5 job," Dr. Frame admitted. Mark leaned in. "But what if 6 minus 7 feet isn't a range? What if it's a code?" The audience gasped. Kelly looked around. "For what?" "I don't know," Mark said, throwing up his hands. "But it sounds like the kind of number you'd whisper in a spy movie. Meet me at drop point 6 to 7. Kelly, playing along, put her fingers to her earpiece and whispered, "Agent Ripa, initiating operation, coffee and chaos." At this point, Gelman, the show's ever-patient producer, was silently mouthing, "Please move on," but the segment had taken on a life of its own. ACT4, the theories multiply. Viewers began flooding social media with interpretations of 6 to 7. Some highlights included astrological explanation. 6 to 7 means you're born under the cusp of Virgo and Libra and therefore suffer from indecisiveness. Parenting theory. 6-7 is the hour when all toddlers wake up screaming for juice. Conspiracy angle. 6 to 7 is clearly a code used by birds. And we all know birds aren't real. Time travel theory. 6-7 was when the timeline shifted and that's why we remember Berenstein Bears instead of Berenstain. Mark read a tweet aloud. What if 6 to 7 is when the veil between dimensions is thinnest? That would explain why I keep losing socks. Kelly laughed so hard she nearly dropped her mug. Honestly, that checks out. I've lost 3 socks this week and gained one I don't recognize. ACT 5, the grand conclusion. Eventually, they had to end the segment. Well, Mark said, gesturing vaguely at the card that started it all. We may never know what 6 minus 7 feet really means. It has no meaning at all, Kelly asked, voice rising in faux horror. Or, it means everything, Mark said with mock drama, staring into the camera. The screen behind them slowly filled with a rotating image of the number 6 to 7, pulsing like a 90s screensaver. Spooky synth music played. We hope we've helped, Kelly said brightly, standing up. We didn't, Mark replied, deadpan. No, we didn't, Kelly admitted. But we tried. And with that, they moved on to a cooking segment about how to make 3-ingredient casseroles that taste like childhood regret and frozen peas. Epilogue. The world reacts. By lunchtime, #Fattest6-7 was trending on social media. Someone designed a t-shirt that said, I survived the 6 to 7 crisis of 2025. A school in Ohio reportedly updated their math curriculum to include a new unit called Understanding Ambiguous Ranges. And one brave soul edited the Wikipedia entry for numbers to include a warning. Caution. Some numbers may be more mysterious than they appear. As for Kelly and Mark, the next morning, they returned to the studio to find the cue cards had been rewritten. The segment now simply read, today's topic, don't overthink it. They looked at each other, smiled, and dove headfirst into another day of delightful nonsense.